future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
It's time for the Bonnie Sher Show, a whirlwind of wit, wisdom, celebrity, and the boomer life. With a little bit of this and a lot of that and so much more you don't want to miss, here's Bonnie.
Over there. I've only done this for a year and a half. Is that camera really? Okay. Well, welcome and hello, friends. New and old dear friends. And thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Bonnie Sher, and I'm here to guide you through the worlds of entertainment, the great boomer life, and of course, the world of type 1 diabetes. So thank you for tuning in. Please feel free to call in. The number here into the studio is 323-843-2826. Or you can follow the hashtag, that's hashtag BSHER radio. Before we get this show on the road, I'd like to acknowledge jazz great Wayne Cobham for my super duper hero theme song. And of course, Corey Bone of Crown and Anchor Jewelry. You can visit Crown and Anchor Jewelry on Etsy for more information on the pieces which he allows me to wear in exchange for this promotional message. So, when we come back, 5-time MAC Award, MAC is Manhattan Association of Cabaret, 5-time Best Male Vocalist Award, and that's Thos Shipley. And back after this.
Your life story is more than the things you do. It's a story built on the moments you make today and the impact you have on others. How big is your story going to be? Live your legend.
And we're back. Thos Shipley is one of the top jazz singers around today. And happy to tell you that he's here with me today to share his views on the music, the life of being Thos Shipley. And, welcome, Thos.
Thanks, Bonnie. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Truly my pleasure. The last few weeks I've had the opportunity to play a few of your tunes, which I will do again today as my song of the week, just because I like it so much. What can I tell you? I am a fan. I am a fan and have been for quite a while. So, Thos, what you up to these days?
I am up to, at this point, getting ready for a performance I'm looking forward to at a place called Maureen's in Nyack. And it's really great. It's going to be with Dave Budway, David Fink, and Ray Liviere on drums. Dave Budway is an incredible pianist and someone with whom I've been friends for years. And he and his wife have opened up a jazz club, which is named after his late sister, who was a great, great singer.
Oh, that's great. That's exciting. I saw your reviews from your date, what was it, a week or so ago in New York. They were outstanding. outstanding. And I thought, well, I'm not surprised, but
Well,
they were glowing, just glowing.
Yeah, we did the my Nat Cole tribute.
Now,
at
is that the show
Metropolitan.
you'll be doing in Nyack also, or is it different?
It's going to be different. Yeah, the Metropolitan Room, what we did is the Nat Cole tribute, which we are looking forward to doing again. And yeah, that went very well. The room was packed. It was really just, a great evening. Had great players, and you can't beat the material.
No, that's for sure. That's
Cannot.
for sure. And your take, I mean, basically everybody who wrote about you said the same thing. I mean, glowing reviews and how your voice and likening to this, but you're so much on your own. When you start to scat, I'm finished. Okay? Poke me with a fork, I'm through. Because you don't make, I mean, let's put it in a more positive light. To me, it's like you just flow right into it as opposed to thinking of the mechanics of how to get that out. And it's just delivered so beautifully. So good on you. Now, wait a minute. This also...
Kind of funny. That's something that's been with me since I was a kid. And for the life of me, I can't explain why. It just always made sense to me. And... so I don't know, just one of these things, I guess, in some ways.
Don't you think
there's
in a way
skills
that-
to be had, but and to grow in, but
Yeah, well, don't you think that's all part of the package, though, Thos? I mean, to have those musical sensibilities, it's one thing
Oh.
to have a talent or to have a voice or whatever your talent happens to be, but to not fight against it and to let it be is something that just lights you up on the stage. I mean, because
Yeah.
it does come from you. Nobody put it on you. It came from in you. And that's, to me, the mark of a great talent. I love to see that. Whatever I know.
there's no greater gift than just being you. And I'm looking forward to doing more of that. We've got another show that I'm working on producing. The thing is produce. And something we called, in fact, the next recording, we started on that, and so far it's tentatively titled Thosified.
I love it.
Well, I mean, it's just that all about, being who you are and what you bring to the material, which is the magic, I think, of being an artist.
Isn't it, though? Because that's where the magic comes from. I mean, yes, we start out with wonderful songs, presumably, and, I don't know, it's just such magic, and I miss that sorely. So I can appreciate what you're saying. But just as long as you just keep doing it, and please come out this way.
I
But-
would love to. I
Well,
would love to.
We'll find you a great place. Was it something I said? My intern just left the studio. I don't know where he went, but I guess he'll be back.
He went out to find me a place. That's it.
Hey, we take direction well here. I learned that. Now, I touched on this with you briefly before we started the interview today. Something that I found that we have in common, and that is you grew up an Army brat too, did you?
Yes.
What was that like
Yeah.
for you?
Oh, for me. It was interesting, only because we started out as a child that I can remember. We were in Japan, so for like 5 or 6 years we were in Japan, and when we left, I was about 5 or 6 years old. And I remember a little bit of it, and still have a few Japanese words. And
Doitashimashite ne and omizu chodai. That is
Hi,
my hi. That's it. I forgot. I got hi. Domo arigato. I'm supposed to look in this camera. They keep telling me.
Domo arigatou gozaimashita. Yes, yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah, hanto. Okay, this is now you really have heard every word I know in Japanese. That
Yeah,
was
but
it.
then we came back, and my dad was stationed in Edgewood. Then we actually got a house in Aberdeen, and my dad was transferred there, and I lived there until I graduated high school.
Wow.
At which point I left.
And you didn't want to go that route, I take it. Did you ever
What?
consider? Did you go into the military yourself?
Actually, no, but I was, for some reason as a kid, all I wanted to do was get into the Naval Academy. And when it came time to start applying
a
for
little bit
that,
down the
somebody
road.
somebody said sea duty, and I almost got into West Point.
Goodness.
Came so close. But I'm so grateful. It's one of those things that you're grateful that you didn't get what you thought you wanted.
Yeah, I can definitely feel you on that. Where did the music come from, Thos?
Well, my dad was a jazz musician also. He was in the Army band, played classical, played all bass, brass, and electric bass and upright, had his own jazz band.
Wow.
And, ever since I was a kid, that's all I wanted to do was play music. I started out as a drummer and then started singing and was mainly a rocker as a kid and began singing and playing drums. And I just remember about age 21, talking to my dad on the phone and then telling him I was singing standards, and went over to jazz and never turned back. And then finally, branched off into doing musical theater and doing theater, and that's what I always wanted to do. But coming out of high school.
What was it like for you when you did Miss Saigon? That must have been phenomenal.
Oh, that was glorious. Yeah. It was an amazing show with an amazing cast of people. And as you may know too, being on Broadway with a large cast, 8 shows a week, crammed into a tight space, sometimes can be rough, but this was so much like a family and such wonderful people that just, took me in, and as I was there, we took in others. And it was just, very inspiring show and just great people to work with.
I can only imagine. And, well, of course, that's where you would belong, is with that group of people, because I think you just described yourself at the same time. Yeah, Bonnie. But in the meantime, Thos, do me a favor, hold that thought.
Okay.
We're going to take a break. And when we return, I want to know also I just read about that you've become the 5th Ward Councilman for your town in New Jersey. So hold on and we'll be back.
Alrighty.
Lose all that negativity. Just let it go. It's just bad energy. Oh, and lose those terrible black balloons they give you on your 50th. What's up with that?
Hey, we hear you. That's why our members love AARP the magazine. It celebrates you with fun and provocative content, from lifestyle and entertainment to in-depth reporting. And it's just one of the great benefits of membership.
If you don't think this is right for me when you think AARP, then you don't know ARP. Get to know us at aarp.org/possibilities.
To be at peace with myself is the most prominent thing, and I am at peace with myself. I didn't deal this deck, I'm just playing the game. That's all. That's it. Meals on Wheels has given me a mode of freedom that I wouldn't have otherwise. Been making sure they get the nutrition that I need, and it's a balanced meal. My name is Maurice McGriff. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
You are tuned in to the Bonnie Sher Show, Boomer Life. We have with us today jazz singer extraordinaire Thos Shipley. So please join the conversation. You can call us 323-843-2826 or tweet the hashtag, that's #BeShareRadio on Twitter. Well, I said that. So let's pick up where we left off before. And Thos, you've entered the political arena. What's up?
Yes, I have.
First of all, yay you. That's there. I said it.
Well, it's interesting. It's a place I never thought I'd find myself, but it's inspiring. And it's something, as I do it, I've learned that it's something that everybody should do. Instead of complaining, and you get in there and you get involved. And one thing that we are pushing for and working toward is arts in the community and helping to do things to develop the town. Mm-hmm. And as everybody knows, or should know, that the arts, theater, music, poetry, film, all these things are, that they move whole nations, actually. And so being a part of the governing body and having this opportunity to inspire and grow the town has just been great. I'm also, my spouse, Joe Diorio, was the former mayor for 16 years.
Something I missed.
So-
I didn't know that part. It kind of runs in the family now, does it?
Yes, it does. You finally got me in there. But together, with some other citizens, we have come together with a group called RP Arts, Roselle Park Arts, and we are about to put on our 4th annual arts festival, which is growing and it encompasses music, the visual arts, and this year we're adding some poetry, and we're also last year we incorporated a film festival, to which we had about 5,000 submissions. So it's exciting to see this happen and help develop the town with it.
For our listeners who are in your neck of the woods, where is this happening again? Where? When?
The Arts Festival will be in Roselle Park, New Jersey. It will be on the 23rd of September. It's an all-day event, and we invite all of New Jersey, actually all the world, to come by and join us that day. Generally the Jazz Fest, but this year I'll be moving it to a music fest with a variety of music. Will happen throughout the day and especially a concert in the evening. There will also be the film festival and the visual arts. So we invite everyone to come out and join us.
Do you have a presence on Facebook for that yet, or how could people find out more?
Yes, if they go on Facebook, it's Roselle Park Loves Art.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
And they can contact me at thosshipley.com. Go to my website.
That was my next question. And if people want to follow you, I know you are on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook also, yes. Thos Shipley, yes.
So we've got that. And let's go back one more second, though. Being in this group of forward-thinking folks and for your city, do you think that anything about that work has caused a change within you? Has opened your eyes to anything or made you just stomp off and want to say, this is ridiculous?
Well, I'd say all of the above, but
I mean, like life, okay.
But that's what it's about. It's been a growing experience. There's so much to learn, but it's really great to have this opportunity to grow the town and to help people. And the other thing that I really advocate for is getting people involved. It's so important that that people know what's going on. And it was a real eye-opener for me, because I always thought that, how in the world does somebody get to be, an elected official? I thought you had to have this special education and all this type of thing. And it's not the case. And it's really inspiring to know that our government is of, for, and by the people. And I just happen to be one of the people.
Yes.
And you step up and do it,
Well, God bless you for that, Thos. We need more like you, that's for sure. So, okay, you're going to stay in touch with me also. You're going to let me know as time grows closer, and I will be happy to shout out the information again on the show closer a couple weeks before your event in September. Also, please let me know so I can shout out where you will be performing, because, I would just like to be able to keep you as a wonderful secret out here, but I don't think that's the thing to do. So please stay in touch with me, Thos. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you.
And, I wish you nothing but the best. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to getting out there to sing in your neck of the woods and sing to you personally.
Oh, Thos. Yeah.
I love you for sentimental reasons.
Are you going to follow that with Love for Sale? You are on my show.
Oh, love for sale. Appetizing young love for sale. Love that's fresh, still unspoiled love. Only slightly soiled love for sale.
See, I know my lyrics. Thank you so much, so very much. Okay, well then, as we go to break now, I would like to acknowledge the important work of Diabetes Research Institute and to encourage you to support their efforts. Please visit them online at diabetesresearch.org. Our song of the day is coming up next. Love for Sale. Big surprise, I gave that one away. Sung by Thos Shipley. And we're going to go out now to another ad. See you on the other side.
Type 1 diabetes can be living in anyone.
Type 1 diabetes is when your pancreas doesn't produce insulin. It's not caused by your diet. It's not caused by anything you did.
Type 1 diabetes can be very serious.
Blindness, amputation.
Learn more about type 1 diabetes.
Help support JDRF finding a cure.
T1D looks like my brother.
T1D looks like a friend.
Type 1 diabetes looks like me.
I tell you, over the years, not that I've been around for that many years, but over the years, I've really come to look at music like life. I mean, for me, I've come to find or believe that life is not so much what you're given, but it is how you see it and what you do with it. And with music, it's kind of how you hear it and what you do with it. You know, it's not just the tune. But this song is something that probably a lot of people have all heard. It's been done many times over the years by many people in many different ways. But this is the way I hear it.
Love for sale, appetizing young love for sale. Love that's fresh, still unspoiled love, only slightly soiled love for sale. Who will buy? Who would like to sample or supply? Who would like to pay the price for a trip to paradise? Love for sale. Let the poets pipe of love in their childish way. She's known every type of love better far than they. If you want that thrill of love, she's been through the mill of love. Old love, new love, every love but true. Love for sale, advertising young love for sale. If you want to try her wares, follow her, climb the stairs. Love, love. Unspoiled, well, slightly so.
See, I told you. Welcome back to the Bonnie Sher Show. Boomer Life, my co-host for this segment is Amy Tendrich of Diabetes Mine. Amy is also a member of the T1D Type 1 Diabetes community and lives here in the great state of California. Welcome, Amy.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy you were able to take the time. I know that I am a reader and stay up on Diabetes Mine. Could you please share with our audience, in case there's anybody left in the type 1 diabetes world who doesn't know what Diabetes Mine is, Give us a little background, would you please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So it was originally my personal blog that I started after I was diagnosed myself with type 1 in 2003. I was in my mid-30s, and I had just had my third child and felt like the only adult on the planet who would ever get this, juvenile disease. So I have a background in journalism, and it was just lucky for me that it was the time when it was sort of the birth of social media, and blogging was just coming out. And my husband actually encouraged me to start this site to just sort of start talking about my own experiences and kind of put my journalist hat on and start covering the industry and sort of looking behind the headlines and just writing about both my, again, personal experiences, but also kind of a consumer watchdog view of what was happening. And Diabetes Mind kind of took over my life and was very well received, and ended up sort of being in the middle of all of this Health 2.0, social media explosion. So it is now, we're celebrating, 12 years. And it is a sort of networking destination and information resource for the community. It's very well read, not only by people with type 1 and type 2 diabetes themselves, but caregivers and a lot of people who are on the healthcare provider side, and in particular in the industry, because we do a lot of writing about new technologies and innovation. Mm-hmm. And in fact, beyond just the reporting and writing, we're very involved in some campaigns promoting innovation in diabetes tools. You may know about the conference series that we do, the Diabetes Mind Innovation Summit, and also something called the Diabetes Mind D-Data Exchange, which is a newer event that is completely technology driven. It's all about the algorithms and the devices and the data sharing that is all kind of coming out right now, and it's a very exciting time.
Well, I can appreciate that. To me, however, it is totally confusing, and I probably am not the only one who feels this way. But the more I read and the more I can understand, it promotes me to want to learn more. So right off the top, I want to thank you for putting that information there. Because if you don't know, you don't know what you don't know,
True, and I'm always telling people, it shouldn't be something intimidating. I mean, we're obviously really in the weeds, very involved with all these companies that are working on standards and data integration and analytics and whatnot. But the point is that these tools are kind of going to be integrated into the basic tools, the glucose meters, and just the platforms that, everyone with diabetes uses. So the idea is that they are going to allow people to do powerful things with their care without having to be an engineer or some kind of techie geek. So, I would just say, hold on, because it's coming. And the idea is that eventually, it's like if you look at the iPhone, it's this incredibly sophisticated little machine, but it's also incredibly easy to use, right? You just push little buttons, there's little icons, it's very intuitive. So the idea is that this technology would eventually get to a place where it's doing things like that for us with diabetes care.
I look forward to that. I happen to be one who is more of a, well, what about today kind of gal. I don't know anybody who wouldn't like to see for a cure, but until that 5 years, 10 years, 25 years for me, 50 years comes around, I want to be equipped. I mean, because clearly we had nothing that resembled, it was really stab and guess for the first 10, 15 years of my diabetes.
Right. I would totally agree with that. And it's interesting. Just this week, I'm actually working on a post about, it's the sort of 10-year anniversary of our innovation campaign that I started with this open letter to Steve Jobs that I wrote back in 2007, in April of 2007. And really, I'm putting together this big list of all of the progress we've made in the past 10 years, and it's just amazing. I mean, there was a story even today, I think, or yesterday, that came out on Forbes about Apple, the fact that Apple is now actually working on some secret project to tackle diabetes care. So it's kind of like this call for action that we issued 10 years ago is actually coming true.
I saw really something about that also.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see companies like Google and Apple and even Samsung and Philips and all of these kind of mainstream, consumer technology companies getting into it, because that just means, once again, that it is not going to be only for the do-it-yourselfers who know how to write code, but they're going to be making tools that everyone can use and that are a lot more, visual and easy. And I mean, as you said, we've come so far. There was no CGM, back in the day. I mean, when I was diagnosed, which was, again, 2003, you were really in the dark compared to now. And you don't have to be the biggest, tech savvy person on the planet to be able to take advantage of some of these apps that let you track your carbs, that let you track your exercise, that let you look up information, that let you share, like Gluco, for example, that lets you share your glucose data with your doctor in a very kind of easy, intuitive way, so you don't have to write all those written logs like we used to have to do. It really is.
You really filled out those
easier.
logs. I used to go with, oh my God, I forgot it at home. Oops. Yeah.
Well, of course I did for the first 2 years, like most people. I was, very diligent, wrote the stuff down. But of course, that's the whole problem. If anything adds to the burden and just gives you more work to do, you're going to drop it, right? You're not going to want to continue, because it's just making life that much harder instead of simplifying your diabetes care. So that's really what the idea is with all of this, is to getting to a point where it's automating certain things and just making it easier to keep the records. And now, in the beginning, it was about, let's just get all these glucose data points and we're going to show them to patients in these different graphs and views. And, then finally, I think the developers woke up to the idea that most of us aren't engineers and we don't want to spend time looking at sophisticated graphs. We want someone to just tell us, what do these numbers mean about our care and our routine, and how can we get some ideas about what to do next, or strategies for dealing with certain foods, et cetera. How can we get that out of the data? And I think that's really the cool part where it's going now, is that they're working on ways for these systems not only to give you a bunch of glucose data points, but also to actually tell you something meaningful.
Well, that would certainly make my life a lot easier. And I'm certain all of our T1 listeners, our family of T1s and T2s, will understand this. I can't really think of another illness, condition, disease, however you want to deem it, problem, where patients do have such a hands-on commitment to their own care. We do care for ourselves, and why shouldn't we be privy? So like in the old days when you couldn't read your chart, well, how do I know what's happening and why do you get to know and I don't? I could never understand this. I think it could take burden off of doctors who don't want to hear from us on more than a regular basis, because these are things we can now finally find out for ourselves. And then if we have questions about, well, how do I fix that? What would be a good way to tweak that? Then we have a direct point to discuss with our endos or our diabetes care managers, whomever they might be, to keep us more on the track for what's important for each one of us, because as you well know, each and every one of us is different, and we will respond differently to maybe what happens to me after eating a half a bagel. It doubles with somebody else. And how come everything I did yesterday, which worked just perfectly and gave me just the results I wanted, and I repeated my exact day today, why aren't my numbers the same? Well, where can I look to see what I might need to augment? And some of these apps that I've seen are just phenomenal. And I think, so as far as that part is concerned, I'm totally on the technology trail. It's when they start talking about that A word that you use. Oh, algorithms. I tune out at algorithms. I like Latin rhythms, but algorithms,
the point is, as a patient, you shouldn't ever have to think about it. That's just sort of the the smarts, the science that goes into making these tools work. If you're not somebody who enjoys, data and math and
but
creating,
I
being
feel
a
left
creator
out
of technology, that's fine, but you don't need to be. I think we're in the early stages where this stuff is still being built, and that's why there's so much talk about the kind of the tools to build it. But I think what you said makes a lot of sense. So what the really important thing is that we never, prior to all this technology, had the ability to learn either from our own experiences or from experience of other people in the community. And by that, I mean, if you're able to keep these detailed records, for example, you have a favorite burrito that you like to eat for lunch every day. And, if you're doing finger sticks, you may or may not remember to do it at the same time. And you probably won't have all the data points to kind of see how you reacted to that burrito. But if you have CGM and you have, a tool that allows you to kind of, it's gonna cull all that information every time you eat that burrito. What were the circumstances? How much insulin did you take? At what point? How far in advance to eating the burrito? That kind of thing. It can kind of help you crack that, that problem.
Well, there's power in information. Right.
So the power of information. And the other piece of it is, again, even though everyone is different, there are still a lot of things that we can learn from each other.
Absolutely.
And up until this point, there's never been a way to connect with other patients and find out, for example, how do they handle certain workouts, certain exercise? What are their experiences when they run versus doing kickbox class or going for a hike? Or so there are some people who are working on these great sort of, they call them big data projects, but it's basically taking data from a huge number of patients and kind of crunching it and seeing if there are some trends there that people can learn from. And that's really, really powerful stuff.
Let me ask you this, if I might. Do you think that there's any way to track the more emotional roller coasters which can affect the glucose? I mean, how do you bolus for I'm really cranky today? Or I have to go into this meeting and I'm terrified. Or, oh no, I don't have to go. In another case of white coat syndrome. How do you factor those things in?
Well, that's not a matter of bolusing. That's just a matter of recognizing how important the psychosocial part of this disease is and addressing it. And I think there's a lot of things, thankfully, happening on that front now, too, that were never, ever available to us. So there's a lot going on there. And I think that there is this whole, kind of buzzword about making things patient-centered. I think that there's sort of an awakening right now because of the fact that all of us are able to speak up and share on social media how hard this is. There's kind of an awakening about the anxiety, the, as you said, the fear, the sort of mood swings, all of the psychosocial side that really has been ignored for decades. So, that's not necessarily a data thing. That's a different problem, but it's really, really important. And it's really, really powerful that because we have the chance to speak up and have our voices heard, via this new kind of open social media technology, we're making the industry and the healthcare establishment aware that if you do not address the psychosocial side, these tools will be useless, because having a bunch of numbers or some algorithm that does something doesn't help me if I'm so depressed that I can't get out of bed in the morning, or I can't get myself to go into that meeting because I'm so, anxious. So I think there is a lot going on there, and you're probably aware of Bill Polanski in San Diego with the Behavioral Diabetes Institute, someone who I think is a pioneer in addressing that. They create all these programs to help people and their partners and loved ones, sort of understand and cope with these things. And we, for our Diabetes Mind Innovation Summit this last fall, we have a different theme every year. And our theme this year was addressing quality of life issues. So it really was very much oriented towards those kind of challenges, the fact that well-being, like basic well-being, is the basis of anything, and you cannot wave your fingers at patients and say they're non-compliant or non-adherent or not doing well if you haven't addressed that side of things, the mental health side.
Well, I'm certainly sorry that I missed that, but I hope that next September I will be able to join up with you. I find that fascinating. That's something that rumbles through my head all the time. Pardon me. So thank you for letting us know about that. Amy, really, thank you for sitting in with me today. I appreciate it. I know my listeners do. But before I lose you, please tell the audience how they can follow you or stay in touch, and you'll pardon the expression, in the loop.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Diabetesmind.com. We are actually hosted on a platform called Healthline. So when you look it up, you'll see Healthline/diabetesmind.com. That's the site. And we are on Twitter at the handle DiabetesMind, so at DiabetesMind, and Facebook as well under Diabetes Mind. And if you want to find me personally, on Twitter, I am Amy DB Mind. So it's Amy and then DBMINE.
Great, thank you.
And those are some ways you can find us and find me. And thank you so much for having me.
It truly was my pleasure. I love when I can learn from somebody like yourself. Thank you, thank you. And I'll stay in touch with you too. Now, and I'm pointing at you right now. You, the T1D, who says, gee, how come I'm not a guest? And I can't be a co-host. Well, let me tell you how to do it. It's really so simple. Here's what you do. Send me an email at bonnie@bonnieshare.com. That's how easy it is. And you'll be occupying that type 1 co-host chair before you even know it. Next up, Boomer News. And, of course, my shout out and shout down for the week. Back in 60 seconds.
I'm a social worker. When I found out that I had hepatitis C, I was a single mother, and I was absolutely terrified.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, estimates there are close to 3 million baby boomers infected with hepatitis C. Because there can be no symptoms for decades, most don't even know it. But if detected in time, Hep C can be cured, and the treatment is simple.
Today I feel great. I'm a healthy 65-year-old. I bike to work, I go to the gym, and I've cleared the virus.
The CDC is urging everybody born between 1945 and 1965 to get tested. It's an easy one-time blood test that may be covered by insurance.
I got a disease that could have killed me, but I saved my own life by getting tested.
Don't wait. Ask your doctor about getting tested for Hep C, because knowing is everything.
Today's Boomer News comes to us from the Wall Street Journal. The economic impact when baby boomers retire.
The decision to retire is one of the most important personal financial decisions anyone can make. Well, it turns out that it also has a profound macroeconomic impact that we are only now beginning to appreciate. Economists have known for a long time that as the U.S. population ages, it'll tend to slow down economic growth just because we'll have a smaller workforce as a result. But there's new evidence that suggests there's another impact on the economy that's potentially even more important. Because older workers tend to be the most knowledgeable and the most experienced, when they retire, that hurts the productivity of everybody left behind. And that drags on the economy through productivity growth. These findings come from a new economic research paper that just came out in the last week. The economists looked at all 50 states, they looked at the ones that aged faster, and they found that in those states, economic growth slowed more. About a third of the slowdown was because their workforce wasn't growing as quickly, but the rest of it was because the remaining workers just weren't as productive. You know, this kind of makes sense. Older workers aren't just the ones who are most experienced and capable, they also tend to make the people around them more capable and more confident and knowledgeable about how to do their jobs. If you look around the country right now, there are employers from coast to coast grappling with the fact that some of their most experienced employees are now coming up on retirement, and they're very worried about how to replace them. There's a lot of sort of tribal knowledge that you acquire on the job that you cannot simply teach in college. The country as a whole needs to come to grips with this, because if it doesn't, it's facing a double whammy from the aging of the population. This, I think, adds an extra impetus to a lot of the discussion now that we should do more to extend retirement ages, both in private pensions and in Social Security.
Now, news and views from my soapbox, which is my take on who gets it right and who should really be ashamed of themselves. So, first of all, I'd like to give a shout out to Anderson Cooper and the CBS news story which was entitled Brain Hacking. Brain hacking explored the practices of Silicon Valley's programmers and begs the question, are they attempting to program the consumer? I suggest you take a look at it. And my shout down. Oh, Sean Spicer, what's up? I don't know how he thought. And what I'm referring to, of course, is his misspeaking about the Holocaust, about the remembrance. I think that his then answer, well, I messed up. Is that like my bad? I really bothered the hell out of me. And then when trying to talk about Holocaust death camps, he referred to them as Holocaust centers. Is that like a sports center? Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking you're right there in D.C. already. Why not take a little class trip over to the Holocaust Center and find out why so many people were up in arms? And my bad doesn't cover it, Mr. Spencer. So, if you have an opposite opinion or you'd like to shout back at me, you can. Well, probably, yeah, you can. Again, BonnieSher.com /blog, and let me know what you're thinking before we say goodbye. However, I'd like to thank my guests for today, Thos Shipley and Amy Tendrich. I am just delighted, but both of them had the time to share with us. So that's my show, and I hope you'll return next week for, there's a picture again, for another 50 minutes and another trip to the land of Bonnie, boomers, and the T1D community. Until then, please visit BonnieSher.com. Follow the #1 Bonnie Sher on Twitter. Be nice to your mother. And like the Bonnie Sings Lena fan page. I'm silly. I'm sorry. Many of you, this isn't silly. This comes right from my heart. And looking at this camera, I'm looking at the other one. I'll get this. Many of you already know what an enormous impact Sammy Davis Jr. had on my career and my life. He was my mentor. He was my friend. So I end this show each week sort of Carol Burnett style, with a nod and a wink to Mr. D. Have a good week. See you next time.